Look, we've all been there, right? You study for hours, staring at a page literally until your eyes blur, only to sit down for the exam and realize your mind has completely blanked. It is incredibly frustrating. But what if the problem isn't actually your brain, but just how you're using it? Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are officially done cramming. We're going to start hacking your brain with a neuroscience-backed upgrade that'll honestly change the way you learn forever.
Okay, so here's what we're looking at. 5 neuroscience hacks for efficient studying. We're going to focus entirely on fast-paced, super practical tools to give you maximum efficiency. Zero fluff here. We're just talking about the biological realities of how your brain actually processes information and the exact techniques you need to learn faster and, remember significantly more.
Real quick, here's our roadmap for today. We've got 1, the 25-minute sprint. 2, space it out. 3, the brain dump. 4, mix it up. 5, chunking. And 6, conquer anxiety. Stick around for the whole thing to get your complete toolkit.
All right, starting with the foundation of it all. Hack 1, the 25-minute sprint.
So sustained attention isn't limitless. In fact, neuroscience shows us that your focus drops off a cliff after about 20 to 30 minutes of continuous effort. The glucose in your prefrontal cortex literally depletes, and your brainwaves shift from sharp beta to this kind of sluggish theta state. And that brings us to this aggressive little number right here, 25. The Pomodoro technique leverages this exact biological limit. It caps your intense focus at exactly 25 minutes to completely prevent that cognitive fatigue that ends up tanking your productivity.
To pull this off, you really just need a simple timer. You work your absolute hardest for 25 minutes, and then, and this is absolutely crucial, you must take a 5-minute break. Why be so strict about the break? Well, because during those 5 minutes of rest, a neural network called the default mode network kicks in. It takes the stuff you just learned and automatically consolidates it behind the scenes. If you spend that break just mindlessly scrolling on your phone, you're literally blocking that crucial consolidation process.
Moving on to hack 2. Don't cram, space it out.
This one is designed specifically to defeat your brain's natural forgetting curve. Decades of psychology research tell us that memory decays predictably over time unless we actively step in to stop it. Blocking, which, let's be real, is just what we call cramming, focuses intensely on one topic for hours. Sure, it might get you a passing grade tomorrow, but the retention completely falls apart the second the test is over. The spacing effect, on the other hand, breaks that exact same amount of study time into smaller chunks spread out over multiple days. That is how you build durable, long-term memory.
Basically, learning in short bursts, like, say, learning on day 1, reviewing on day 3, and mastering on day 5, will always beat one miserable night of cramming. Spaced repetition actually forces your brain to repeatedly recall the information, which physically alters your brain structure through neuroplasticity. That's what locks in the knowledge permanently. It's like building a muscle.
Okay, next up, hack 3, the brain dump. I have a challenge for you. What do you actually remember? Because repeatedly reading a textbook or mindlessly highlighting notes might feel highly productive, but it's totally an illusion. The material is just sitting right there in front of you. To activate what researchers call the testing effect and really strengthen the connections in your brain, you have to actively pull the information out of your memory.
So, here's how to execute the perfect brain dump at the end of a session. Step 1, close the book. Seriously, no peeking. Step 2, write absolutely everything you remember down on a blank piece of paper. And step 3, compare it to your notes and find the gaps. This whole closed book loop creates what cognitive psychologists like to call desirable difficulty. That intense struggle of trying to retrieve the memory, that's exactly what makes it stick.
Which brings us to hack 4, mix it up.
This relies heavily on a really cool concept called interleaving. Instead of exhausting yourself by studying one single topic for hours on end, you deliberately switch between related topics. So if you're learning a language, you might tackle vocabulary in phase 1, then switch things up to listening in phase 2, and hit grammar in phase 3. Mixing it up forces your brain to constantly adapt, contrast ideas, and make way deeper connections. Research actually proves this leads to significantly better overall learning than just hyper-focusing on one thing for way too long. All right, on to our final mechanical strategy. Hack 5, chunking information.
This one optimizes your working memory, which is kind of like the tiny mental scratch pad you use to execute immediate tasks. If you just throw dozens of random, unorganized bits of info at it, like a massive list of historical dates or random vocabulary words, your working memory gets completely overwhelmed. It basically drops the data before it can ever be saved.
But chunking fixes that entirely. By grouping small, individual pieces of information into larger, meaningful patterns, you create massive efficiency. Think of it like a filing cabinet. You aren't desperately trying to hold onto 80 loose pieces of paper blowing around in the wind. You're neatly storing a few well-organized folders. Believe it or not, studies show this incredibly simple technique can expand your recall from just 7 random pieces of information to over 80. That's huge.
And finally, let's look at number 6. Conquer anxiety with positive self-talk.
We have to shift from the mechanical to the emotional for a second, because all the memory hacks in the world won't save you if you just freeze up on test day. You need to lean into that nervous feeling. It's actually helping you be better. As neuroscientist Dr. Lila Lentowski explains, when you feel that heart-pounding nervousness before an exam, don't view it as a curse. That anxiety is quite literally your brain's way of increasing your alertness to help you perform at your absolute best. So focus on your preparation, lean into your unique strengths, and use that biological adrenaline to just completely power your performance.
Wow. Okay, we've covered a massive amount of ground today. We've got Pomodoro sprints, spacing, brain dumps, interleaving, and chunking. So, my final question to you is simply this. Which of these 5 hacks are you going to use today? Don't just passively watch this explainer and move on. Pick one strategy, test it out on your very next study session, and watch your brain's efficiency completely transform. Thanks so much for joining me today, and hey, happy studying!